on, so if you want to say hello or go and shite or poke my home, you're welcome to do it. I hope you're all keeping well. This will be the last video before Christmas, so I might as well wish you all a happy holidays. To use the modern sort of like inoffensive vernacular. If you're a pagan, Shona Nullig in the Celtic world, Saturnalia if you're a Hellenic pagan or a Roman pagan, or Hail Yule if you're a Nordic or a Germanic pagan, or whatever you are in the world. Happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, whatever your thing is. Happy nothing if you're actually way inclined. Good for you. I hope everything goes well for you and your family in the coming year ahead, and we can actually make sense of these things. Speaking of sense of this thing, it's very warm here in the west of Ireland today. It must be going on. Nearly 60 degrees. They're definitely in the mid 50s, and I'm helping someone out today with some work. We're moving a retail unit to a different location. We're downsizing. Just the business isn't there anymore, so renting a smaller space. So yeah, that's ridiculous. I was talking to my friend Steve-O from London, and he was just telling me that I think he said his cousin is a taxi driver in London, and he said it's like a ghost town today. They're all at home, terrified of the latest variant. They're absolutely, and Dublin is the same. I'm sure all the city you live in is the same. And it's not too bad around here. There's still a fair few people around, but they really done a number on the public with this one. Now I see. There's even a lack of favors involved. Like when people say, "Oh, they're the conspiracy theorists, dumbass truthers, and flat earthers," they say things like, "Oh, this is the season of sacrifice, Saturnalia." Well, what Saturnalia was it was the tradition in Rome for the people who are better off to take care of the people who are poor off. So Saturnalia was a drinking and a party festival for people who weren't well off. And this whole thing of Christmas dinners for the homeless, that all comes from the Saturnalia thing. In Roman households, the slaves or the working class people or the artisans would be given a day off and given given some food and drink by the nobles or the well-off people or people who were like middle class and upper middle class. And the idea was to take care of, and even the slaves would be given a special treat, would be to, their concept of slavery wasn't like what you think it is. Slavery is basically an unpaid working class person, but they weren't like this, what the poor African slaves went through. It wasn't like that. It was just unpaid labor, and they were given food and lodging instead. And depending on how nice or not the master was, some of them had good lives, some of them lived in absolute luxury and splendor. If they had a nice master, and some were treated like shit. That's why slavery is wrong, so look at the draw. But Saturnalia was for people who were better off to take care and give a nice time to people who weren't so well off. And that's where the whole thing of giving meals at Christmas to the homeless comes from, Saturnalia. So all the truthers all think it's all about Satanism and all worshipping the devil and all this. But the thing was that the elites, I love the way they say the elites are Satanists. No, they're not. And they're definitely not Luciferians. If they were Luciferians, they'd be enlightened. They're not enlightened. No, there are elements of Freemasonry that are Luciferian. And the general god of all Freemasonry is Lucifer. That's the general, but that it represents enlightenment, and they may think they're enlightened and stuff in their lodges and stuff like that, but they're most certainly not in many other ways. Although I know lots of Freemasons who do great works for people and have helped people out and stuff like that. So there are some who, they are enlightened, doing great work, good works. But in terms of the establishment, they're absolutely not. If they were to be doing something nice for us this time of year, what are they doing? They're locking us down. They're making us bigger prisoners, and they're making our lives shittier. And they're just most of them are Christians, some of them are Jews, some of them are Muslims, but basically they're all atheistic, soulless dogs, as what most of them are. And They don't have a soul of any kind. A good soul, a dark soul. They have nothing. Nothing. They're just voids. Look at Zuckerberg. That's what they are. Bill Gates. There's nothing in there. A void. And that's what they're trying to make all the people at the moment. And they're turning them into them. They've turned the mass of society in the West into that. And the RTE, the Irish News Channel today, broke cover with the chip. They had a story say, wouldn't it be great if you had a microchip under your skin that could, excuse me, automatically tell, not like a cough telling you have a bit of a cough, but telling that you're vaccinated, that you're needle crafted as you're walking through, an airport security. So what was whack jobs conspiracy theory cuckoo among the educated classes who are actually the biggest morons in society? Always assume that someone with a university degree is an absolute idiot. If a person with a university degree is in the room with you, assume that they're the biggest idiot in that room, okay? And then work your way down master's degree until you get people. Then you see people who have trades: carpenters, plumbers, electricians, builders. Then you start getting towards people who are sentient and intelligent. And but the same people are going conspiracy theory, caco cuckoo, wacko 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 10 hours ago, are going, microchip under the skin, how interesting. Telling your vaccination, how interesting. That's what they're like. That's what these animals are like. They are animals, and remember that. That's why the days if a nice person who's bullied or coerced into getting needlecraft suffers debilitation and dies, it's a tremendous human tragedy if they have to do it to keep their job or something like that. But if they're those types who make fun of people, like recently, one of them was a doctor in America who said, I got my chip injected into me, ha 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 ha, and then he died the next day and wrote his obituary and everything as he was dying. It was the weirdest fucking shit, and encouraging people to get the needlecraft. I consider their deaths a glorious event in the scheme of evolution. They're the same people who give the Darwin Awards to others but wouldn't give it to themselves when they're the biggest fucking Darwin Award recipients of all. And I now see the ones who are smug and arrogant, the reasoned, educated ones. Brian May has now entered that shit world to me. Brian May is one of them. He gets, I kind of Brian May was an enormous hero to me as a kid. I can't even begin to tell you. Like, when I was a very young kid and heard the guitar solos and things like The Millionaire's Waltz and White Man on the early Queen albums and things like, Ogre Battle, that I was just blown away by his guitar playing. And, just blown away the Ogre Battle, if you were like 12 and you heard that back then on a rainy winter night in Dublin on your headphones, it just was the best thing in the world. So like he was a real hero to me. And so there he is yesterday going on about. Now, bear in mind that this guy's a manic depressive. That's not his problem. That's not his fault. He's also an astrophysicist, and he also has a very chronic heart condition. So he gets the 3 needlecrafts, and then becomes extremely ill with the Rona, right? And then makes a public announcement that it would have been much worse if he hadn't had the 3 needlecrafts. Where the logical thing is that the Rona came from having the 3 needlecrafts. They can't go there. They won't go there. Their brains are... After the first one, the brain seems to go. Their lack of cognitive thinking and functioning collapses. The second one, they become zombies. And the third one just makes it towards the vegetables. So the arrogant and smug ones, Brian May wasn't particularly arrogant and smug, but like those ones that go, I'm going, I got my chip today. I've been taken over by the Illuminati. And then you have the family obituary 2 days later, died of unknown causes. I consider their removal from this planet one of the most beautiful things in the world. It's like a flower bursting into bloom, or a kitten being born, or the smile of a child. on Christmas morning opening their presents. These people are absolutely not even human beings. And then it's compounded by their spouses going, well, he was one of the 25 million who died of a rare side effect. Uh, but we encourage people to still get the needlecraft. And then other ones who are proud of their family members. Like, I was talking to my friend today, and I said, if someone I loved and closely took the Jabberwockies and died, I would literally be like that film, that TV show, The Equalizer, Edward Woodward. I would want to go, I would be looking for guns to go and look for health ministers and, you know, the heads of big pharma corporations. What happens to them today? Oh, my child, but everybody should get the needlecraft. That's what we're dealing with today. There's something fundamentally wrong with the human condition, and that's what we've come to. And the fanaticism, like there's some great letters. Christian Morris has been printing the letters that have been appearing in the Irish Times. Now, Christian is trying to make out that the public mood is changing. I bet the Times have been getting those letters all along. It's only now they can feel comfortable about printing them because everyone's got the needlecraft. But there were things like how, the Irish Times in March 2020 said that vax passports would never happen because there's so many legal constraints against them, and there's so many ethical problems with, like, freedom of movement and civil rights. And then here they are vehemently through that animal, Fintan O'Toole. And John Waters is too kind to him. I don't think he's brainwashed. I think that he actually is enjoying it. It's a power trip. And there's a lot of sort of sadomasochism towards. If you look at the health authorities when they make the announcements, I'm afraid we're going to have to cancel Christmas. Yes, we're really sorry about it. You can actually see the boner. You can actually tell there's a boner behind the podium. That's why they do it behind the podium, because they're rubbing their balls and stuff like that. They're going, I'm afraid you're not going to be able to go on holiday this year and see your mother who lives in Spain. I know it's a terrible, tragic thing. That's what they're like. You've seen it. Leo Varadkar here. You've seen it with your own eyes. Hancock in England and others, they do that all the time. Fauci is literally a duper's delight smirk with a human body connected to it. Not a human body that does a duper's delight, but a duper's delight with a human body. And Varadkar is one of those types as well. And then they all have if you see every photograph of them in the media, they all have the liar's grimace. The mouth going down. When classic Bill Clinton, I did not have sex with that woman. And Holohan here, it's every photograph of him has the liar's grimace. Now you have to understand his purpose of that creature is apparently he was an alcoholic. I didn't know this. And this is why he's obsessed with shutting down pubs. Apparently he was an alcoholic. Now, he also was part of that horrific event that was the cervical smear tests that were all wrong and resulted in the deaths of many, many Irish women of cervical cancer. That the test didn't show they had the cervical cancer. And he was openly lied in those tribunals and everything. Now, I think that he's possibly a Mason or something, but I think that he's basically been, the whole thing of him being put into the head of NEFID here in Ireland is to rehabilitate him. He's being rewarded by his friends. Oh, you're an alcoholic and you fucked up, and when you were on the sauce, you caused the cervical problem thing. I'm just saying this is hypothetical. I don't know if this is true or not. And then he's off the drink, so he thinks he can restore his image. And that's why they put pictures of him dressed like Superman up all over the place. And that's why, they gave him the freedom of Dublin. They gave freedom of fucking Dublin, for fuck's sake. For what? It's ridiculous. The whole thing was clearly a setup. And the Irish being everything the English jokes that you told about us is true. Yes, Irish people, listen to me carefully. All those Paddy jokes are true, and you proved it in the last 2 years. Saying things like, isn't Tony Holohan a great man? My mother died of cervical cancer last year. These types, but Tony Holohan's a great man. Give him the freedom of city. How dare you, conspiracy theorist? That's what you're dealing with, okay? The average Irish person today is not sentient enough to even exist as a human being. They're not. They're just not there. And I can't speak for other countries, and I'm not going to be racist against other countries or anything like that. But I'm sure in your country it's probably the same. But all I know is for a fact is that the Irish are just not there, and just they're not even a society or people anymore. I don't know what they are. They're just basically sheep, just like the Australian health minister said. It's just like putting the sheep through the guy, just like that. You know, that's exactly what they are. And now, I'm not trying to bring it down for Christmas. I'm not bringing it the other way around. You're watching this video because you have survived 22 months of staggering propaganda. 22 months of staggering mind control. 22 months of incomprehensible gaslighting. And you still have your sentient faculties about you. Enough to watch this video. Enough to understand what I'm saying. Enough to be honest with yourself. Even though the personal cost it's given to, it's done to you, like your family not talking to you, like I have people who their parents abandoned them from the coming over for Christmas because they're not needlecraft. You have survived all that, and you are still here today, 22 months, and that makes you the true elite. If there's a true Illuminati and an enlightened elite on this earth, it is us, the tribe, and people like us who are not in the tribe but feel the same way around the world. It is us. We have survived an incredible assault upon our consciousness, and we're still here, and we're not even close to breaking point. Now, and you think that you're a noble, and so if you're feeling bad about your sister not letting you see her kids, or your nephews and nieces, because you're not needlecrafted or you're whatever, you take comfort in the fact that you are the elite, and it's the other way around. They're not fit to be in your company anymore, and you should let this shine in your heart as the sun just comes out. Let this concept that you are the elite shine in your heart, that you were not to the most base, infantile, childish levels of propaganda. I mean, this wasn't even sophisticated propaganda. This was like infantile propaganda. This is like childlike propaganda, and they all fell for it, and it became increasingly severe, and you became more immune to it. You became psychically immune to match your powerful immune system, and you didn't bottle it. 22 months we've been basically in a psychic prison, and they haven't broken us. Remember Steve McQueen in The Cooler, or in Shawshank Redemption? They haven't broken us, and they won't break us. We've gone past that 18-month point. 18 months seems to be the point where if they don't have you bite, and they'll never have you. We've done it. And so as you face Christmas, either with your family who may have wised up, or all your family are already wised up, or on your own, or with some friends because you're not needlecrafted, you take comfort in the fact that they're not fit to be with you. It's the other way around. They're not fit to be with you. And don't be sad about it. Don't say, oh, this is unfortunate. Don't feel lonely. I know the kind of people anyway that would stand up against massive propaganda wouldn't be the type to feel lonely anyway. There'd be people like me who are very happy in their own company. Have you ever noticed that people, this is a fascinating one, right? I have thousands and thousands of friends, right? And yeah, I'm perfectly happy in my own company. Have you ever noticed that's a common thing all people know, whether it's yourself or other people, that people who are often happy in their own company often have loads of real life friends? Where the ones who are desperate for friends and desperate for a little gang or anything are always complaining about how lonely they feel. Interesting, that one, isn't it? Interesting. But you keep telling yourself that you are the elite. You are the true Illuminati. And like I said, there was a real conspiracy I could believe in. It's that Georgia Guidestones and the 200 million or the 500 million mentioned on it. That's actually designed for us, and to wipe out the morons who can't see that. Look, they've given them they've nearly 2 years of having the obvious pointed out to them, and the information is not hidden. They're still saying things like the Great Reset. Oh, it's just conspiracy theory until it appears on the cover of the London Times or the New York Times, and then it's like, interesting. This Great Reset, and they have no recollection of mocking people 2 days earlier about it. Same with the microchip today appearing in the RT website. Suddenly, you were microchip. Oh, Leo the Lich. Oh, Leo was so just poured into that white coat when he spent a day pretending to be a doctor fighting the Rona. Ooh, and Far Rush, and dogs, excrementous dogs, a lot of them, and it's okay to be, forget the hippie. Those of you who are still hippies and going, we gotta love everyone. I love everyone. Everyone must all is love. Look what that got Prince. Prince built his whole career on love. Love songs, concepts of being loving and kind, spreading and sharing love, compassion, and the fuckers killed him because he saw through the bullshit. They killed Prince and Michael Jackson because those two, if they were still around, they'd be on TV going, particularly Prince, they'd be going, this is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit. Prince would be singing songs about. In fact, he even has songs about it. Get your jab and go, or something like that. Get your chip and go. Get chipped and get your vaccine chip and go. A song he wrote years ago. He would be. I'm convinced they killed Prince because of this moment, and I'm convinced of other things too now more than ever. The flat Earth thing was designed to destroy the alternative movement, to weaponize all the dingbats that thinking the Earth was flat, and have them obsessed with that and into a kind of a weird wild cult, so there wouldn't be an alt movement to actually stand up. I saw that with my own eyes. I saw it in, like, when I used to go to the AV meetings. You were building up a momentum of people who could have went out there into the community and could have changed things. I got everyone ready for now, and then suddenly overnight they're all going globetards, because they watch like 24-hour long videos and smoke 20 joints during it. And I saw it with my own eyes. But that's what I'm convinced now, that Prince was murdered because if he was around now, he would be one of the biggest voices of freedom. One of the biggest voices. And people would be finding those songs. Look what Prince wrote. This kind of thing. No, they took him out for that reason. I've no doubt about it now. No, and quite possibly Michael Jackson as well. Michael Jackson made an album here in Ireland up in a castle in County Westmeath when he was living here not long before he died. And he spent the last couple of years of his life living in Ireland. And he made an album. I heard it from the producer myself, and he said, my friend of mine was down there, and he said the producer himself told my friend, the album was like all kind of like, it was like heavy metal, and it was like the lyrics were all about they're out to kill us, they're all out to destroy us, fight the elite, he said all this conspiracy shit. That's what the guy said, the engineer. It was all this conspiracy shit. That album has vanished. That master tape has vanished. And where's Michael Jackson? And is still telling the most appalling lies that he was a paedophile with absolutely no truth around it. You can't find any evidence that he was a pedo, none at all. But that's what people think. He's a dead pedo. No better than Jimmy Savile. And that's why they kill these people. That's why they kill our prophets. They kill the people who can actually reach big audiences. And it's shocking. It's shocking how dark and depraved this world is. But it's not us. We are the angels of the fucking morning. We are, compared to the dregs that run this, the absolute excrementous hordes that run this planet. And we've already beaten them. I've no doubt about that. The fact that we're here after 22 months, we've shown we're invincible. This is like Stalingrad. We were like the Soviets of Stalingrad, and we're now ready to. We're breaking out now. Now that doesn't mean it's all going to collapse and they're going to have like gossamer wings floating around going, whoa, we're all loving and all, and we're going to get revenge on the elites. But I'll tell you something, I never thought I would see the day when thousands of people all over the world, this will probably be a banned video, by the way, so get ready to copy it, though I think this should automatically upload to Odyssey. I never thought I would see the day when thousands of people all over the world would not only hate or despise or dislike their political class, the civil servants, the bureaucracy, the mass media, the head of big pharma companies, the journalists, news readers, news presenters, not only hate them, but actually want them executed for crimes against humanity. When they think about things like the how the elder, still the greatest scandal of all, and it's happening again right now, is the internment of the elderly inside retirement homes and retirement communities. And anyone who works in those places will tell you, as soon as they don't, if they're, what can keep those people alive is their daughter or their friend visiting them once a week. And if they don't come after 2 weeks, the people give up and die. And some of them were surprisingly young. I was quite surprised at how young these people were. They weren't all 80 and 90s. Many of them would give up and die. They were 67, 70, which is young today when you think like people like Mick Jagger are 80 and still on tour. And they give up. They just give up because that's what keeps them going. And that was a deliberate ploy to make sure they didn't get their pensions and stuff like that. And that was a holocaust that was planned. And even if it was incompetence, which it wasn't, it was planned, it's still an appalling crime. And now the thing of injecting children, it's just unfucking believable. And like I say, anyone who takes this stuff by their own free will, see, this is what I'm all about. I'm not trying to ban that stuff. I'm saying if you want that, take it. But don't stop me. Don't try to force it on me. I'm all for freedom. Like, and it's so evil. Like that chap that English footballer who plays, the black guy who plays for Borussia Dortmund in Germany. He's also in the England team. There was an article on Yahoo News says, whatever the chap's name was, he says, urges everybody to get the jab. That was the headline. And then when you read into the actual text, what the chap actually said was, he goes, well, Borussia Dortmund have been very understanding with me, and I took it, but it's not up to me to tell other people how to take it. It's freedom of choice. So the chap made a perfectly rational statement, just like Callum Robinson did on the Ireland team. He made a perfectly rational statement saying, it's not for me, but you know, if other people want to do it, that's their choice. It's freedom of choice. I'll manage my own healthcare. Where this chap did get the needlecraft, and he was still as accommodating and fair. He goes, it wasn't for me. He goes, it's what I chose, but it's not for me to tell other people they have to do it. It should be always freedom of choice. But that's left out of the headline. The headline says, England player urges people to get the jab. And that's not what he said at all. Out and out lies. And I wrote a book about it called Anvil of the Psyche, which you can read for free on Substack. The whole book is there. I gave it free to the world. And I talk about things like how the newspaper headlines, and the editorial department create newspaper headlines that are nothing like what the body text says. They give you the agenda in the headlines, but they tell you the semi-truth in the body text. But most people just see the headline. All they see is the headline. And even if the proof of that was for me, and God almighty, you know, when I did the Manchester Ripper story, and which I was proven right on because that guy they arrested, who's the one, he was the Ripper. The guy who raped all those fellas, he was the Ripper. I was right. My profile of a self-hating gay man living in the heart of the Canal District, close to the gay village, was the most likely, someone who has ability, access to drugs and everything. He was most likely to be the profile of the killer. And they arrest this guy, had to look something like 1,000 rapes, but then the cops in Manchester going, oh, he wasn't the killer, but then all the murders all stopped. Of course he was the killer. He lived over one of the canals. And if he did a plot of all the killings he did, they were all bang around where he lived in a circle. He lived in this epicenter he lived in the center of the kill zone of the Manchester pusher. My profile was right. I said when they suddenly stopped, he was arrested, so it was him. That was it. I was right. I was completely 100% right. But anyway, I appeared in the Daily Mirror. It said something like, Orter claims that serial killer is stalking Manchester. This was like about a year before this guy was arrested, and the murders all stopped. And And then my picture, and it wasn't a little tiny picture, it was about that size of my face in the middle of the article. I walk into a coffee shop in the town I live, see the woman behind the counter, Mairead. I say, "Hey, Mairead, can I have a cappuccino?" And I see the newspaper open, and there's on the article 2-page spread about my work onto the pusher with my photograph. And she's looking down, reading it. And I have the guy's photograph who's on the fucking paper is standing in front of her with his name under my picture. And she knows my name. And she didn't put two and two together. And that was a big eye-opener for me, because that made me realize that people don't actually read newspapers. They just read the headline and then and then scan around and go to the next page. And that's how they're trained. And I was given cast iron proof of that. I walked out with a coffee in my hand, like smirking, like she didn't know it was me. And she's not a stupid woman or anything like that. That's how people have been trained to read papers, from like tabloids and stuff like that. And I'm sure lots of people have stories like that. But that's what they already had as the baseline to work with. And from that, they were able to do what they do today so easily, because they've been training people like this for years. For years they've been doing it. And yeah, you know, it's frustrating. It's annoying. It has real world effects. I'm currently involved in downsizing a retail unit because there's not enough sales to fill up the big one. So there's economic impacts. But I never stopped anyone from coming in without a mask or anything like that. And neither did my partner. And we got on fine. And we weren't publicans who were like saying, "You get out of here if you haven't got a vax pass." And now they're going, "Oh, the government is destroying us." No, motherfuckers, you destroyed yourselves. I have no sympathy whatsoever for these publicans who made a big deal about, "Oh, we have all the vax things in set up and ready to go." And we won't let anyone here, won't drink in here without their ID. And these ones are now screaming, "Oh, I can't close at 8 o'clock. It'll kill my business." Well, fuck you to hell, because you are perfectly happy making, victimizing thousands in society, but when it's your turn, then you suddenly your victimhood is the only one that matters. No. You should have learned earlier on that this government is, the NPHET and the Irish government are sexual psychotics who are sexually turned on by enforcing restrictions upon you. And a pervert, a paedophile, does not stop when you give him more children to molest. And you gave the paedophile more children to molest. By indulging these perverted S&M psychotics who are being sexually turned on by holding people down to restrictions, that's what you did. That's what you did. And it's come home, and I don't give a fuck about you. I don't care if you lose your business or anything. Don't give me this crap out. My employees, they all lose their jobs. What about your man? What was his name? Panty Bliss. He boasted about, like, he actually said something along the lines like, only people who work for me are vaccinated ones and needlecraft ones. And, I'm sure it's where he worked out for him closing at 8 o'clock, That's what you get for being a government and establishment stooge. When oppression is in the air, the oppression comes right back to bite you on the ass. They're all like Ernst Röhm's. Ernst Röhm was the head of the Blue Shirt, right? Blue Shirts, and at the night of the Long Knives. So what happened was, the Blue Shirts decided they wanted to try and take over and become a new government, running the country like a separate army. And the Third Reich said, "Get the fuck out of here. No way they're going to do that." And they had a thing called the Night of the Long Knives, where they basically killed them all, maybe tens of thousands perhaps. And Ernst Röhm was their leader. And Ernst Röhm was thrown into a prison cell and handed a revolver and given the choice, "Kill yourself. We'll give you the honour of shooting yourself so you're not executed. An honourable way out." And instead he stood up crying, "No, I'm not going to shoot myself." And they shot him through the door. The SS shot, or what was to become the SS, shot him through the windows of the cell. And that's what these are all like. They're all Ernst Röhms. They've all been told, they're all these publicans who all supported the government's IDs and vax apartheid. They're all they're all complaining now that we did everything right. Now we're closed at 8 o'clock. And it's like, yeah, you're like Armstrong that just handed you the revolver in your own cell. And you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you to hell. This is that song by Public Image Limited. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. Bad life. That's it. They got their bad life. You will not ever, ever accommodate or placate a psychopath. If you're kidnapped by our psychopathic system, if you're kidnapped by a psychopath, and like a serial killer, they'll say things, well, maybe if you do this, I'll let you go, or if you do that, they'll never do it, they'll make it worse. And that's what these governments are like. They're dealing with psychopathic individuals and perverts and all kinds of sex freaks and recovered alcoholics with dry drunks who their brains are destroyed by drink. And also in Ireland, cocaine is a huge problem. Cocaine. I believe that whole Jerusalem thing of the cops here dancing Jerusalem, I think that's because a lot of them are coked out of their heads. And I think if you did a random flash search of all the cops in Ireland out of the blue, you'd probably find huge numbers of them are coked up. And that's a big unspoken thing, and that's what's talked about. Because a lot of them are connected to things like the GAA, and GAA clubs are big cocaine trafficking operations into like provincial Ireland. Big thing, real big thing. And then that also impairs judgment and behavioural things. They don't care once the coke is still coming. And so it's an awful mess. But you guys, the tribe, after 22 months of this bullshit, I could fucking hug yous and kiss yous. 22 months you've held out against this shit. 22 months of this absolute crap monstrosity, and we're still here. And most of us, nearly all of us, still have the same fighting spirit we had at the start. And what does that tell you about you? What does that tell you about the kind of person you are? You should be very, very proud of yourself. I'm extremely proud of all you guys. Many of yous here that were commenting in March 2020 are still here going into 2022 with the same comments. And I think that's absolutely amazing. I could hug and kiss yous all. I really could. So, in closing, what we have, we hold. Sanguine Gnosis, Yule blessings, Saturnalia blessings, Merry Christmas, Merry Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Shona Nulik. We're going to win this because we've already won it. Love yous all.